Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my college football top 25. It has been a while since I've done one of these, mainly because at this time of the week, I get really busy with a lot of things at the same time. Makes it hard to make a video, but I have found some time. Unfortunately, that means it's going to have to be a very quick video, at least for the most part, considering my standard of a 45-minute fucking video. So, without saying too much, let's get straight into this thing. So, at the start of the year, I said Penn State was the number one team. They should be the number one team entering, and I kind of just sat on that. They have the test this week. They're going to play Oregon in their home stadium. James Franklin has not been able to get over a game like this, but that's been with former Big 12 or Big 10 opponents like Ohio State. Oregon is new meat. They're fresh meat. And Penn State could get some crazy things done. After all, though, Penn State hasn't really been playing any competition. However, they haven't been playing any competition. Sometimes I feel like it's beneficial for a team to not play anybody and be super highly ranked because they go out there thinking they're the shit, and two, playing their best football because all they've been doing is torching teams. You get in your head, you're like, damn, bro, we're a good-ass football team. And, usually when a team will take a bad loss or something, it's nice to have just a pooper so you could, reestablish your team and be like, yo, this is how we need to look offensively. This is how we need to look defensively. Just beat up on somebody, get things working, and then when you go play against a good team, you've got that feeling back. You've got that motivation. And Penn State hasn't really played anybody. They've just been destroying opponents left and right. Oregon also hasn't really played anybody in that matchup, but at least Oregon has had a conference road game, but both teams are still unproven for the most part. But at the same time, both teams look super good right now because they are just dominating, as well as Penn State's coming off of a bye week. Not that they needed one, but they're coming off of a bye week. So and it's also, I think this game is a whiteout. It's just not looking too good. It's not looking too good, and this is also a 4:30 p.m. kickoff for me. That probably means it's about 6:30 there. That's going to be a ridiculous environment. This is one of the best Penn State football teams. I'm pretty sure you could say Penn State will win that game. If Oregon wins that, they're number one. That's just how things are going to work around here. But for now, I think Penn State is the best team entering the year, and I still think they are the best team right now. Number 2, Miami. I'm happy I kind of changed my perspective right before the season started on Miami because I was following the trend of Miami's just going to be a bust. They're not going to be as good as people think. But then I kind of had an epiphany and realized, holy shit, they're getting underdog mentality at number 10. Nobody believes in them. Carson Beck is getting so much hate. They've got a point to prove. And this guy's hat right here, is that the Eastern Washington hat? Or is that like a different version of the Eagles? I wonder. I don't remember. But there's a bird like that kind of looks like a FCS team, but whatever. Miami, they've just done nothing but impress left and right. They have played the competition. Bethune. Don't sleep on them. No, I'm just kidding. Notre Dame, obviously, they're 0-2 right now, but both of their games they have lost within. They've either lost 3 or less points in a game that was competitive the whole way through. Miami wins that one, makes a statement in week 1 against a team that was higher ranked than them, and I think a team that was favored over them. Then, you've got the rise of South Florida, who took down Florida and Boise State and was in the top 25. And you just stomp their teeth out. And then you've got a Florida v. Florida matchup. And again, you just shut them down 26-7. I mean, we know Florida hasn't been the craziest thing offensively, but you just shut them down. You got a bye week for Miami right now, and then they hit the road and go to Florida State. That's going to be just an absolutely crazy game. But Miami looks really, really good right now. Carson Beck could be the Heisman, LSU's offense is struggling. Lenora Sellers is obviously his team is struggling, and he is struggling. You've got new risers and a lot of fallers like Cade Klubnik. He's out. Fernando Mendoza, he's way up there. Levitt dropped significantly after his Mississippi State performance. John Mateer is probably in the front runner seat. Marcel Reed, Rocco Beck, Joey Aguilar, or however you say it, Haynes King, those are all very possible quarterbacks. Tommy Castellanos, don't sleep on him, bro. Or hell, even Gunnar Stockton. I mean, he even looked good, but we'll get to that later. But Miami right now, they look like a team to beat. You beat Miami, you're a legit football team. That is a win that speaks absolute numbers to me. Like, Penn State's number one, but there's a world in which Oregon beats them. Florida State beats Miami. That is a win for years to come. Honestly, actually, if Florida State wins that, I think Florida State could be ranked at number one. But that is a conversation for the week after this upcoming week. Ohio State at number 3. Ohio State's only win is against Texas. They haven't really been playing anybody special. They kind of had a hard time with Ohio going into halftime 13-3, and then, Ohio scores on a 67-yard pass to make it a 4-point game, and then, Ohio State does Ohio State things, finally takes off and puts up a good performance. They're struggling offensively. I'm not sure whose fault it necessarily is. I mean, Julian Saint had 2 interceptions, or is it just miscommunications on an early young team that will eventually find their footing? But one thing is for sure, they've got a damn defense. They play at Washington this week. That'll be scary, but Ohio State, they have a really good win under their belt right now. But unfortunately, the thing with Texas and Ohio State that I kind of said at the start of the year is they've got new quarterbacks and relatively young leadership. They're not going to play super good at the start of the year. It's going to be how they finish the year. And as long as they can pick up wins where are needed, then they will continue to be, they'll make the college football playoff. And only as the season goes on will Arch and Julian Saint drastically improve in their first year of college football. I witnessed it with Sam Leavitt last year. Didn't start off looking the hottest. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't good. But as the season went on, he slowly got better and better and better until he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in college football. It can happen with Arch Manning. It can happen with Julian Saint. I'd give the edge to Saint because Arch has just not looked too shabby, but he has not looked too good. But Ohio State, you can just, at least for a while, this is definitely a hard one against Washington. Washington doesn't look bad. But after that, you got Minnesota. Obviously, they're not too good with the loss to Cal. At Illinois, Illinois just got swamp donkeyed by Indiana. At Wisconsin, nope. Host Penn State, James Franklin is not winning that game most likely. At Purdue, host UCLA, host Rutgers, and then finish against Michigan. You've got two or three games there that are must-wins. Washington, Penn State, and Michigan. So Ohio State has the schedule to do it. They're going to remain in this position for a while. It'll just be like how they look against teams and how their offense looks as the season progresses as to how they will perform in the college football playoff. Georgia at number 4. I'm sorry, Georgia. I've been sleeping on you all season. That win against Tennessee really helps. You shouldn't have won the game. Now, we all know this. Tennessee had the game wrapped up and ready to go home. But you did win the game. But ultimately, win or lose, I would seriously just flip Tennessee and Georgia's spot. That's how it would just simply go. Gunnar Stockton was great. The Georgia offense is good. Now, Tennessee's defense may not be the prettiest thing ever, but it's definitely there. And obviously with Syracuse's recent win over Clemson, Syracuse doesn't look too bad. So I really think Georgia and Tennessee right now are two of the best teams in the SEC, and just managing to win that game only benefits Georgia even more, just managing to pull off the miracle. And that is a quality win. It's only a matter of time before Tennessee really just starts to get their name out there as more games get played. And Georgia also, they kind of control the table. You got a huge road win against Tennessee. Now you get to host Alabama. Later on, you at Auburn, then host Ole Miss. At Florida doesn't look special. At Mississippi State, who knows? Host Texas, and then finish off hosting Charlotte, and then at Georgia Tech. Georgia's running the table yet again. Kirby Smart is that coach. Don't sleep on Georgia. Number 5, Oregon. Oregon football looks really, really good. They are destroying every team that steps in front of them. Their offense looks really good. Their defense looks really good. I mean, the difference with this Oregon team and last year's Oregon team was Oregon's couldn't really beat teams convincingly. They struggled greatly with Boise State, and they struggled greatly with Idaho, but it's when it came down to conference play, they just started to dominate, and they went undefeated. Now, this year, Oregon is just dominating the competition regardless, and it's going to come down to this game this week against Penn State. Can you keep up this high-scoring output that you've been putting up all season? Can you just continue to dominate on every side of the ball? Who knows? That will be for my prediction video. But for now, Oregon looks like a damn good football team. Oklahoma at number 6. I think that win against Auburn actually speaks. It's way louder than people really give it credit for. I mean, Auburn's road win against Baylor looks super good right now. Even though Baylor is 2-2, their losses are to 2 very quality teams right now. Baylor is a damn good football team, one of the highest offensive outputting teams. Auburn's got a really good defense, and Oklahoma was playing in a dogfight with them. There was some extremely weird reffing in this game that may have benefited them, but still, overall, just a super quality win for Oklahoma, and their win against Michigan just gets better and better. Oklahoma is also kind of running the table right now with the SEC. Now, their schedule is way more difficult than Georgia's, but they are running the table, and they have a football team to do it. It'll be super cool to see like a Georgia-Oklahoma SEC championship. That would be super sick, but Oklahoma looks really, really good right now. Texas at number 7. The AP has them at 10, dropping down 2 spots, which I'm like, why? I understand they didn't look too pretty against UTEP, but that should have happened last week. They dropped 55 on Sam Houston. They dominated. This was one of the better Arch Manning performances. 18 for 21, 3 touchdowns. He was accurate. I think, they get a bye week and then they hit the road against Florida. Like, don't sleep on Texas, y'all. They're a good football team. Defensively, Arch Manning's got to figure some stuff out. He's got the test of a lifetime against Florida's defense, but ultimately, I do think Texas is still a good football team. Probably going to piss off Texas fans that I have them 1 spot under Oklahoma, but at least I don't have them 30 spots under Oklahoma like the AP does. I still think Texas has a lot of potential this year and will be a constant issue in the SEC. It's just a matter of when Arch Manning will turn it up. Well, he'll turn up the stove. He'll turn up the heat. If he can do that, Texas turns into one of the top football teams again. But until he does that, Texas is going to struggle and keep on getting close wins. But their defense and the talent on the team is just, it's a lot. Can't overlook that. Florida State at number 8. That's where the AP has them as well. The win over Alabama keeps looking better and better as Alabama wins more and more and more. If you're a Florida State fan, you want Alabama to beat Georgia on the road because that just makes you look better. Florida State plays at Virginia on Friday night at 4. That's honestly a toughie, but Florida State, they ran the ball mainly against Alabama because, like, if they can't beat it, why do you stop? But when they needed to throw the ball, I mean, the deep ball was there practically all game. Sometimes it was just missed opportunities. Sometimes they were connecting on the deep ball. Florida State was straight up dominant against Alabama, and I don't think it's to Bama's discredit. Like they were outmatched. Like the talent is just outmatched when you have a quarterback like Tommy Castellanos, like Jordan Travis V2, you suddenly have an extremely good Florida State team. I mean, he was 9 for 14 on the air, 152 yards. 9 passes completed for 152 yards. He's covering a football field and a half in 9 passes. You know, the defense was just scrambling for answers, and they couldn't find it. Florida State's offense is on another level, and hopefully they will continue that against Virginia. They lose that. That looks really, really bad for Alabama. Like, that looks really bad. LSU at number 9. They are currently ranked at number 4. Their offense, man. And, it is a good thing that they played Southeastern Louisiana and they dropped a 56 bomb on them. You got to figure out some things offensively. You got to get things working because their offense just hasn't been pretty this year. In their first 3 games, 17 points against Clemson. Obviously, we know it should have been more, but it still ended up only being 17 points. 23 points against Louisiana Tech. 20 points against Florida. This was their best offensive performance by far. You have to travel into Ole Miss. You need to keep that offense because Ole Miss, their defense isn't like the craziest thing, so you should be able to score points, but their offense it's moving. So your defense is going to have a hard time keeping them off the board. Your offense needs to step up big time in this one because your defense will. They win that. I say LSU is in a good spot. They should probably stay at like number 4 or number 3. But until they do that, or if they even lose, then I'm not going to put them any higher because they just haven't really impressed me that much. And obviously, we all know that Clemson loss just starts to look worse and worse and worse. Or a Clemson win, sorry, not loss. Texas A&M at number 10. Really impressive. Auburn, what the hell am I even saying? Notre Dame losing at Miami was one thing. It's a road game against, obviously, Miami, who's number 2 right now. And first game of the year, both teams are getting ready for that matchup. Sunday night game. It was just it was going to be a dogfight. But this one against Texas A&M, a game you won easily last year, and it's in your home stadium. Texas A&M just didn't quit. They were down pretty much the entire game before they started to tie things up. They let Notre Dame score. They let Notre Dame score a late touchdown, in which, of course, the extra point attempt blew up in their face. And then Texas A&M just continues to rally, and they go down the field and they score a touchdown with no time left. Oopsies. They score a touchdown with no time left. And they take the win. That is just such an impressive win because it's a good Notre Dame team, a proven Notre Dame team. Maybe with some defense issues, but definitely not with some offense issues. And when push comes to shove, you're on the road against a highly ranked team, and you win a shootout. That is just a very impressive win. Texas A&M this week, they get to host Auburn. Yeah, they get to host Auburn. And I can tell you this. After that win against Notre Dame, the fans are going to be here. The fans are going to show up. It's going to be a sellout stadium. It's going to be impossible for Auburn to play the absolute most perfect football. They will make mistakes. Auburn is a good football team, but they will make mistakes. And Texas A&M is in a very good position right now. Texas Tech. You got a lot of Texas teams right now rising to the top. Texas Tech is the highest ranked they've been since, I think they said 2005. Or maybe it was either 2001, 2005, or 2007. I don't remember. But they get a bye week now after just a domination against Utah. Just a complete and utter domination. It was a very close defensive game for a long time, but Texas Tech, eventually just slowly started to pull away. Their backup quarterback came in and just delivered some dookies on them. Once he came in and just started slinging the ball, the Utah defense just collapsed, and Texas Tech just took the football game away. 24 fourth-quarter points just shows you adversity. It shows you, that they're just a good-ass football team. You're up against Utah, one of the hardest stadiums to play in, one of the most energetic stadiums. And Utah obviously thinks they're very good. They're going to play their eyes out. They need to win this game. And you just battle all game, and finally you deliver a gut punch to them. After going up 10, they score to get back in it, and you deliver a touchdown. You deliver that gut punch, and then you just kill their spirit. And that's just Texas Tech being such a damn good football team. There's levels to this shit, bro. There's eventually just going to be like, there's just going to be a gap somewhere in here where teams just significantly drop off. Number 12, Tennessee. Like I said, Tennessee's at number 15. Obviously, like that is really low in my opinion because, they should have won that game against Georgia. We all know that. They should have won that game against Georgia. If Georgia is at number 5, then what does that mean for Tennessee if they should be winning that football game? Like, that's how I look at this situation for Tennessee. But, obviously coming up short definitely hurts. It is a loss after all. You got to hit the road and go play a Mississippi State team that's undefeated. And good luck playing in an environment like that. They've done it before, but good luck. It's going to be crazy at Mississippi State. They haven't felt this good in years. And Tennessee, walk out of there with a win. Got Arkansas the week after that. Then you're on the road against Bama. That would be a gigantic win for Tennessee football. Watch out for the Volunteers, man. They're good. They're sneaky good. Indiana at number 13. What can you say? 63-10. There's nothing else to it. This team was ranked too low in the preseason. Didn't really make sense to me. You lose Curtis Rourke. You upgrade entirely with Fernando Mendoza. And you doubt Curt Cignetti. Like, he did it in his first year last year. Why can't he do it again? And once I saw that they got Fernando Mendoza, I was pretty high on Indiana. I'm not going to lie. I put them down in the top 25 as well because it's hard to, just go off your own opinion when the rest of the public says one thing. So I'm not going to lie. I had them down, but I had a lot more faith in the back of my head in Indiana football than I really gave them credit for. Ole Miss at number 14. This is the gap. This is we have officially hit the gap here. You go from Indiana, Texas Tech, Tennessee to Ole Miss. There's just a giant gap right there. Giant gap. And honestly, LSU is kind of just a void team that could fit in this gap as well. This is where the top 25 just starts to drop off significantly, and just get worse and worse and worse. But Ole Miss, ranked, haven't really played anybody, barely beat Arkansas. Arkansas was getting ready to go down the field and score a game-winning touchdown, and they fumbled the ball. Same thing they did against Memphis. Not a very impressive win in my eyes for Ole Miss, at least for, the number 13 team in the country. Also barely snuck out a win on the road against Kentucky. Kentucky's not good. A win here against LSU would look really good for your team, but I don't think it'll last. Ole Miss number 14. 15, Georgia Tech. I say the gap. Georgia Tech is kind of iffy right now because their only good win is against Clemson. Clemson is no longer in the top 25, as well as no longer anywhere near it. They barely beat Colorado in a game. They had 3 turnovers, which it looks better than it sounds because you still win a game with 3 turnovers. But realistically, Georgia Tech hasn't really beat anybody. They're 4-0, but they get Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Duke. That Syracuse game, Georgia Tech could be 7-0 just because they're not playing anybody. If they beat Syracuse 8-0 at NC State, that'll be interesting. But I would say 9-0 at Boston College, 10-0, Pitt 11-0. There's not really many games Georgia Tech can lose, but just because of the simplicity of their schedule. But that's why I have them all the way up at 15. It's because you got over the big ones, you got over the big games. Vanderbilt at 16. This is a team that is, putting in their ticket, putting in their resume to be in the top of the teams before the gap because they have just been dominating everybody. Obviously, South Carolina, not as good as we thought. Also, Lenora Sellers was hurt. Domination over Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is 1-3, but they did drop 70 on Georgia State. Obviously, their offense is moving at a different level. They've got Utah State. The first 5 games are very easy, except for that South Carolina one at the time didn't look very easily. But now it is. You get to go on the road to Alabama after Utah State. That'll be a game. If you dominate, you dominate. Then after that, you host LSU. Vanderbilt could be a damn good football team right now, but we just got to wait because they haven't played anybody. Michigan, lost to Oklahoma in a close defensive game. Doesn't look nearly bad as it should. And then, pick up the win on the road against Nebraska in a game a lot of people were favoring Nebraska in. And they pick up a much-needed win. Michigan is still a good-ass football team, and after all, Oklahoma looks like ridiculously good. So Michigan, maybe they're not like super terrible. That was also at Oklahoma. These teams play in a neutral site. It could be different. Bama at 18, that's what happens when you're just going to win games. They didn't necessarily drop out of the top 25 right away. They dropped out of my top 25 right away, but they've just been dominating team after team after team. Go on the road against Georgia. Bama is still, not the worst thing ever. I like Ty Simpson, but Georgia could hand it to them. Iowa State at 19. This might be a shocker. 5 spots below where they are in the AP, but their only good win so far is against Kansas State, who's 1-3. They only won it by 3 points. Should have been by 10 points, but still, it's Kansas State. And then they struggled against Iowa, barely winning by a field goal. And then they struggled with Arkansas State, a team that got absolutely blown out the door by Arkansas. Iowa State just isn't looking super impressive. And, like I said in my prediction, I said Iowa State wins game 1 against Kansas State, gets a good start. But then I said they'd lose to Iowa, and then they just wouldn't be as good in conference play as the season goes on. But they managed to win that game against Iowa, which is keeping them highly ranked. They could lose to U of A this week. U of A is not by any means that crazy good of a football team. But if Iowa State really struggles to contain the run game and they turn the ball over, U of A could really win this football game, and that would be a big-time upset. USC at number 20. USC has been just dominating everybody they play. Michigan State, dropped 31 on them. That was with a late touchdown when the game was 45-24. The USC just looks like their defense is kind of struggling. That's going to be expected with USC, but their offense is moving at a different level. Road game against Illinois. I think I just hit my tooth on the mic. I think that might be a bit of a trap game considering how bad Illinois got beat by Indiana. But, by all means, you are still not out. You can turn the season around with a game like this. USC might struggle with this one, but they're still a damn good football team, and I would still take them to win. Notre Dame at 21, higher than they're in the top, one spot higher, I guess. I kind of wanted to put Notre Dame way up there, but obviously they did take 2 losses, and 2 losses for an independent school means, guess what? Notre Dame, you can't lose again. And they play Arkansas, who is fiending for that win. Later, they play USC. Later, they play Syracuse. You can't really take another loss because you prove that you can't beat the good competition, and then you lose to a team that might not be good competition. Can't lose that. Desperately can't lose that. Missouri, their running back looks really good. This is also a team putting in their application right now. Sorta. They're kind of a couple spots behind, and they're getting side-eyed by the cashier, but they're putting in their application. They're submitting their resume. 9-point win against South Carolina, 11-point win against Kansas. They've been seemingly good, but they also, those teams aren't as what we thought. And, they're just going to slowly climb their way up the rankings as they beat more average teams. But they get to play Alabama. Then we will know. Auburn at 23. They consistently, they took their first loss against Oklahoma. They drop out of the top 25. But Illinois doesn't drop out of the top 25 for losing 63-10. Go figure. And, Auburn played a very damn good football game. They kind of got screwed over by the refs a little bit. They're still a good football team. Don't sleep on Auburn. TCU at number 24. This is just a better Baylor, in my opinion. I think I said this already before. Maybe not. Not sure. This is just a better Baylor. This is just a better Baylor. They've got the same amount of offensive firepower, but it looks like the defense is just stronger for TCU and maybe a bit better of a running game. They're just a better Baylor. And then at 25, I've got, obviously, ASU. I feel like, losing to Mississippi State on a broken defense, heartbreaking play. That doesn't happen. ASU is well within the top 20 or well within the top 10 right now after their win against Baylor. They're well within the top 10. There's just no question about it. But since they lose on that absolute heartbreaker and they have to burden the loss, they're sitting outside of the top 25 right now, which is just rude against a team like BYU, who BYU has literally just not played anybody, and they're like struggling to put up any offensive production, or even over BYU over Auburn, or obviously Illinois in the ranking, or even Mississippi State. They're still undefeated. Give them their flowers. They beat number 12. But with that being said, that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like and subscribe and help a comment always helps. That's all for me. Adios.